This week, the BBC Radiophonic Workshop celebrates its 30th anniversary. The electric music machine takes a behind-the-scenes look at some of the work done in this busy department.
Stage in the film, what I'm trying to do is to get at the way that the feminists see their own role in the church. And for some of them that's fairly sick and distorted, so you can see the pictures sort of show it in a slightly distorted way. And it'll be intercutting with pictures of archbishops and evangelists doing very aggressive sort of male things, so we'll get this sort of feeling going through. The whole thing's not only rather grand and pretentious, but also slightly absurd and ridiculous. Shall we have a look? You can see the kind of things we've looked at. The tree sort of stands for the sort of paganism of
so it's quite a grand piece of music.
Yes.
But also slightly off-key, offbeat.
Yes. It's the absurdity is what I want to come out, like a sort of mad dance.
Seen through the woman's point of view.
Exactly. As if they're looking at a pagan rite, which I think a lot of them feel, and that the women themselves represent the true church.
This was an unusual programme in the sense that there was 5 hours of some of the first shots of the Second World War that had been seen in colour film that was discovered in America. We had to say military, but we also had to say it was a more of a personal war story. And so I thought really it would be rather nice to counterbalance the percussive elements with something quite lyrical like a flute, which would actually hopefully take it away from the martial stuff of war films. The first cue really is the title sequence, and I had to work very closely with the graphics designer. We both agreed after a long session one Saturday morning on various cue points that would happen during the course of these titles. Now, we knew that we had 22 seconds available for the live action and that there were 5 sequences. So we decided as a place where the Dachau sequence would happen. And we decided, obviously, when it would start and when the titles would come up. So I had 3 definite cue points. You come back to the workshop with a list of number of frames proposed for each shot. I then put it through a device known as Sync Writer. You would punch in total frames, and so in this particular instance we had what ended up by being called Map Spot, which was Howard's first frame, would be a spotlight coming across the map of Europe. You then got an animated arrow, which is the first moment that the journey starts. So from the Normandy beaches, the arrows would animate down and round to Berlin. So that was another cue point. Then you can take this list of cue points and decide on the overall speed of the piece. You've probably got some idea already of the speed that you want it to go at. And with Sync Writer, you can actually display all these cue points on the screen as triangles against the tempo that you're trying out.
In the end, I started writing at 11 o'clock on the Thursday evening. So that was just basic notes, and I wrote on the score wild voices coming in, trombone, boom, 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 boom. And then on the Friday morning I came in and I worked right through the day and finished it at about 5 o'clock. Diezere, 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 Diezere.
This is the rack, which is layers of different kinds of treatment devices. The one at the top is an echo device. So if I use my own voice, you can hear that that's quite a small room. It's really nothing more than a sort of oil drum. You go up the rooms. There is a small hall, church hall perhaps. There is something near a concert hall, something like that. But you can also go right up to the top and find a room this big. And you can freeze sounds in there. You can freeze it and then enter another one. And another one. Anyway, that's quite enough of that. Shut that up. Now further down we've got the delay devices. There, you can change the speed of the delay. There, that's quite slow. Or that's much faster. And you can put some flutter on. Flutter. And you can also use it to catch an individual word. If you hold it and then put sample, and then change the pitch of that. In fact, for changing pitches, you'd be more likely to use a harmonizer. Where you can change the pitch of the sound upwards like that, and you get into pinky perky voices, or down for giants. And if you add the two effects together and put some feedback around, you get that, which is fairy dust. Fairy dust. That's fairy dust going up, and if you turn it down, it goes down.
What should we start off with? About funky chicken?
Yes, we do that 3 times, don't we? Yeah, it's in the
The
programme.
funky chicken.
Yes, well, it's our name.
Fine. So you're going to show me the movement.
Yeah, all right, let's start with the movement.
Perhaps if I give you something to give a tempo. Funky chicken. So
Right.
let's see.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's not bad for practicing, is it? Actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right, bass line. Here's a sort of disco bass sound.
Yeah.
It's the sound of someone playing the bass with the thumb, slapping it.
Right.
And you can play it in a sort of that sort of
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
yes,
like that
yes.
style?
That's fine, yeah.
I'll try and think of a bass line then. Let's try a bass line. 1, 2, 3, 4.
3, 4, 1. Yes, that's all right for practicing. Let me try it up to speed. The first problem you encounter, really, is that you must try and match the emotional level that's required, with the simple fact that whatever you're composing has got to fit the pictures. Now, the pictures are going to dictate various cue points that you have to hit. Now, those could be the Dachau sequence or the arrows animating step by step across the map.
I had the bass line and a tempo, and the obvious missing element is the drums. So I started programming the drums into the computer, drum by drum. And then when that was done, which probably took most of a day, we could play the bass line and the drums together, and there you have the basis of the rhythm track.
Marvellous. It does work terribly well. It's a great success, I think. I think it'll go with the film as well, which is the main thing. One thing that really does strike me is that it's fairly sort of serious, isn't it? I just wonder whether it's almost a bit too sinister. I love the bit where it gets almost into a dance and you have that sort of...
Oh, the na 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 na.
That's the bit that I really like, because I think that's the bit where we can make it slightly comic.
Maybe we could enlarge that section.
Well, I think so, because I have a feeling that the women are saying it's not only sinister, but it's also slightly comic. And perhaps that's the thing to build up. And you have a revision. Is that possible, do you think?
Indeed, yes. We'll enlarge that section, double it up, just make it more lighter.
The main melody is coming from the brass, which are playing a repeated disco phrase. While they're playing it, I'm adding in some sustained chords on the electric piano to give it some harmony. At that point you want to bring something completely different and really let rip, so that's when the guitar solo comes in. I like that sort of crazy sound and crazy playing which you find in a lot of 60s music, the sort of playing that Eric Clapton used to use.
it's definitely that sort of beat, that sort of heartbeat rhythm, which is supposed to mean that, you know, if you have the heartbeat rhythm, it makes people in tune with the music and they want to hum it. I mean, it's a theory.
Some people say. I'm not
Some
convinced.
people say. But the problem is that there are 6 countries that go all around the world, and we're trying to find music that covers all countries from Sweden to Japan. So, I mean, that's a big problem, to get a piece of music that can represent all those countries.
Gosh, you want a lot, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know where to begin, really. First of all, as far as the national... tricky one in 30 seconds.
Yes.
And I mean, who knows what the Japanese national anthem is? Do you know what it is?
No idea.
No, I think the best thing is to look for a bright and breezy and hummable tune.
Yes.
And let any national characteristics fit around the tune itself. Let's start with the tune, because I mean that's really what you want to catch people with.
Yeah, right, okay. And there's one more thing. Tom himself. His character in some way we'd like to get in.
Well, he's a bright, breezy, bluff sort of character, isn't he?
He's large, yes.
And he's well known for his sense of humour.
Yeah.
So I think the music's got to be quirky in a humorous sort of way.
And here we go again. There's a chime coming. Something which is falling freely will accelerate at about 10 meters per second per second. It doesn't matter whether it's a man, a car, a coin, or a model car. They all accelerate at 10 meters per second per second. A feather's different. It has a lot of air resistance for its size and weight. So does thistledown. And so do you if you jump out of an aircraft and open your parachute properly. Actually everything, cars, coins, men, model cars, everything is affected by air resistance.
Oh, I think the feather's marvellous, Dick.
Oh,
great,
good,
yes,
good.
excellent.
Parachute. I like the parachute.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried because, you see, it's falling so far and then the parachute cracks open and the sound goes on the same. I want a discontinuity in the sound because you've gone from uniform accelerated motion to uniform velocity.
Faster to slower, i.e. dangerous to safe.
Yeah, right.
Right, OK, fine. Well, I can remix that because they're separate, but the rest of it's all right. And you wanted the little noddy car a bit louder when it accelerated to get home for his dinner, didn't you?
Something like that.
Right, Mike, let's see how these sound. First of all, take a bit of level on the pepper grinder. Here we go. How's this for level?
Yeah, that's fine.
OK, stand by. We'll record a few. I spoke to Sue on the phone again and told her one of my ideas. One idea was that when it comes to cookery, there are certain things that you do in the kitchen which make a nice rhythmic sort of noise, like the hammering of a steak or sharpening a knife, stirring, all these sorts of things. And I thought maybe this was an opportunity for recording sounds like that and incorporating them into the music in a sort of recipe, that sort of way. I've got 3 synthesizers in my room, apart from the Fairlight, and they do present one with an enormous range of sounds and possibilities. But in this particular program, we're looking for an appealing tune, so I'm going to have to look for an appealing tone color. Sometimes a tune will work perfectly well on one sound. You change the sound on the synthesizer, the tune doesn't work so well, the same tune. So it's a question of finding compatibility between tone color and tune. Having got the tempo and the structure right, I always say that the tune comes last, really. A tune will always suggest itself.
For the last 3 or 4 years, I would say 90% of my composing has been done using a computer system of one kind or another and programming the music into the computer as opposed to recording it onto a tape recorder. This has quite a few advantages. Firstly, any part of any track can be edited. You can make a change, let's say, in the bass line and immediately hear that that needs to make a change in one of the drums, which then implies that an instrument should come in at this point. That sort of a process you can't really do if you're working on tape, because everything takes a lot longer to edit and to record and to drop in and drop out.
The reason why we used real drums was that synthetic drums are rather apologetic in sound, and for this sort of program you really do need the real thing, and it deserves the drama that you get out of real playing, and also a very good acoustic, which you can only get in something like the orchestral studio at Maida Vale.
Okay, we're going for a take. Coming up shortly.
Once I got a 16-track tape full of musical ideas, then comes the mix-down stage. Fairly late on in the production, my producer, Sue Lockhead, rang from Manchester and said, we think that it would be a nice idea if you could actually play the tune on a tuba, because we think that it would be the sort of instrument that would reflect his personality. And I had a bit of a heart attack about this, because I'd already carefully structured the tune around a sort of pizzicato and a flute tone colour. So I hummed and hawed down the phone a little bit, made one or two suggestions, and I did a couple of versions. One version, which I just played the last few bars on the tuba, and I thought that worked quite well, and that's the one they used.